Alright, hey everyone, it's April 2nd. Right now I'm working on some custom logic for the minigun I'm adding to my game. For the most part, all of the guns have been fine, everything works the same. However, for the minigun, it's a little bit different because unlike the other guns where I can replay the same fire animation that just shoots one bullet over and over again, but for a minigun, it's kind of different. The player will hold down the trigger, the barrel will spool and rotate, kind of charge up, and then after a small delay it'll fire all in one press. So I worked out some logic here as well as on the blueprints. It's a complete mess. I need to clean this up. Kind of reworked it using my same C++ functionality, but different, I guess. How it actually gets triggered is different compared to all the other guns, so I have the logic here. I just want to show this cool, not cool, but this funny bug. I think it's going to be a quick fix. It's firing and the barrel is rotating, just not in the way I want it to. And also it's not stopping when I release it. The input key, it just keeps going. But yeah, hopefully I can fix that. I think I just need to fix the rotation vector. Let me see here. Let me just say apply to Y. Okay. Yeah, there we go. It needs to be way faster, but yeah, you can see it rotating the right way. Cool.
A little later.
Alright, I am quite happy today. Because there's this, a fully functioning, well not fully functioning, but there's a minigun. It's quite sick. I kind of had to take on a different strategy, I guess, to have the behavior both for my regular guns and for this minigun. And any other guns like this that have a charge mechanic or like spool up mechanic. But cool, yeah, there's a couple things that were done today. So first changes were to the actual C++ code. Originally, I only had pull trigger and release trigger and they were not U function at all. So I had to turn these U function, make them blueprint native, so then I can override them in my gun class for the minigun. I was going to do that here instead of making a C++ class because all of my blueprint weapons are inherited from the weapon-based C++ class. So it makes more sense for me to just make its own functionality in here, and it also gives me a chance to actually work with blueprints because the only time I really worked with them are with animations, not with the actual code. Made these separate, added the implementations, which is just the old pull trigger code into pull trigger. But I actually cleaned it up quite a bit from when I originally had it. No body for these because it's not needed, but for the pull trigger, quite simple. Checks if it's semi-automatic and returns early if it is, and the trigger's being held. Checks the fire rate, again applies only for the full auto, and clean this up quite a bit. All of this functionality was in this pull trigger, which is kind of alright but not alright, so I got that cleaned up into these functions, and they're all blueprint callable again to be called in the minigun blueprint in its own custom event, and then all of the other guns are handling it normally, so I'm happy with those. I'll just run through them quickly. So check ammo, again just checking the ammo and decrementing it to consume ammo, and then fires the bullet, which is the big logic for firing the line trace. Yeah, it's a bit big, but it's fine. It works. Calculates headshot damage if it hits the head to critical shot surface. Named it critical shot because if I wanted to do something different, let's say like a Thrasher from Black Ops 3 Zombies, where they don't have a headshot, but they do also they have like weak spots on the bodies that act as the critical points. And damage reduction for penetrations or collaterals. Fire effects, this is for the sound effects and animations and visual effects particles that I need to implement. So I haven't really done much on the sound effects, the sound designs, or particles yet. That'll be coming up soon. Spawn casing. Nice and isolated. And once all of this separation was all done in C++, we can kind of move on to the blueprint. Again, just basing it off of the pull trigger, release trigger events listed in... Did I? Oh. I don't need that. Sorry, I'm just looking at it. I kind of just... I don't need that, I believe. I was being dumb there. Okay, I can just make the... Yeah, because I pass it in here. Okay, that could be a quick fix. Cool. Okay, just a quick fix like that. Makes it a bit cleaner. Now I can go back to the player and make that private again. I made it protected, but now it can go back to private. So where was I? Yes, pull triggered. I'm using enhanced input, or the fire input. I'm using triggered and completed. That way it natively acts as full auto, and then I can have that semi-auto switch. Then I can have both implementations that way. So we call them, walk through the pull trigger, making sure it's only done once, similar to the Boolean gate in weapon base. I don't think I need this branch anymore. This branch was here before because I had a wind up time. Let me see actually. Okay. Why I had that branch there is because I had a delay before the branch. So you would click, you get that little spool, and then you would check again to make sure the player hasn't released the key before the little wind up delay finished, and then it would start firing. But now that, I don't think I need that anymore. Let's check. Let's just boop, get rid of you. Okay, so that works. And then if I just kind of tap it before it fires, yeah, there's no line trace. Awesome. So I can just get rid of that branch. It's not needed. Not too much. So once it's clicked, we're doing the events, which is based on this fire event where we're using the functions from C++ to consume and fire, and then setting the fire handle time. When we release it, we're just setting it to false, cleaning up the handle. Not too crazy. I'm happy with that. So that was part one, where we have the gameplay logic of the minigun actually firing, making the line trace using our previous code. Now we move on to the animations. In our animation blueprint, in the anim graph, it's really simple, just rotating the barrel bone. The other part is here, the good stuff, I guess you could say, where we are getting the player pawn because the player pawn controls all of the input booleans, works on all the other weapons, so I had it like that instead of having the is firing boolean on the weapon. Just made more sense to me that way. All the movement booleans are on the player, all of the is aiming, is running, isn't near a wall, things like that, is jumping. All of that is all on the player, so it just makes sense to have firing on the player too. We are just using some finterp math to rotate the barrel and setting the rotation, and then finally we'll get something like that. So that little rotation, it'll continue to play as it is firing, or the trigger is held down, release it, and boom. So I'm really happy with that. This was the one gun where I couldn't really implement yet because it needs to have this custom firing. Next up, I need to make a hip fire spread similar to FPS games like Call of Duty. I want to do something like Combat Arms where it actually spreads over time, because Call of Duty, it'll bloom out quickly, but it'll also go right back after each shot. But I kind of want to have this gradually increase over time as you're continuing to hold down the fire. This will be the same for all guns, it just won't be for the minigun. And then I also need to make a transition. When I do the hip fire spread, I need to make the animation transition, or I guess not an animation transition, just the transition from hip fire to aiming. Like right now for the minigun, there's nothing, and making sure that there's the hipfire spread, there's some randomness for the line traces during the hipfire spread, as well as during the, actually not during the aim spread, there should be no randomness during the aim spread. After that's done, I want to do some not animation, but some recoil, which I think will just be adjusting the camera, the Unreal Engine 5 camera, whenever I'm firing. Maybe some more interpolation math. We'll see how that goes. Sound effects, I need to get particles implemented as well, just for more feedback. And then sound design as well, I need to do that as well. Again, more feedback, because this is kind of big nothing burger right now. And that's a bug I need to fix. Why is it line tracing after this? Okay, I need to go fix that, but yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. Catch you all later.